Welcome to Confident Leadership in Color. And today I am on my second interview in this podcast. And last time you met Carolyn, that I have known for over, I think, 10 years now. So she and me, we have been working together many times. But today it's a different part. We are going to another part of the world actually as well, from Portugal to actually USA. And there we find Tom Rosenak, which is a completely new acquaintance for me. We just spoke a couple of weeks ago, first time. Welcome, Tom, to this podcast.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
I want to introduce you a bit properly for the listeners. Maybe you are new to them as well. And you have founded a company that you call Diamond Mind Enterprises. And that is also part of what you talk about and teach, that everyone has that inner diamond that you want to bring out to the world and help them to discover through self-leadership and their capabilities. So you work with individuals, with teams and organizations to really communicate in their best way and also to bring out the best results they can, if I have understood your work correctly.
You have, and just listening to the way you described that, I would connect the two this way, which is we connect to our inner diamonds and then we express them in the world in an impactful and compelling way. So when I work on presentation skills, I begin with find your true voice, but then finding it isn't for you in the closet. Now, how do you express it in a way that other people are moved by it? So those are the two, internal and external, and they're not separate, but you sometimes work on them very distinctly.
You work a lot in the corporate world, if I understand it correctly, and have a lot of experience in that world, 25 years and more, if I understand it correctly.
That is true. Rub it in. Earned every one of these gray hairs.
Is there anything you want to add in from the presentation that I might have missed, since you are new to meet as well?
Well, I just mentioned the story, and I have the video on my website, digdiamondmine.com, but the story is Russell Conwell's famous story, Acres of Diamonds. And the short version for your listeners is a gentleman sold his ranch and went searching the world for diamonds, ended up broke and dead. And meanwhile, the person that bought his ranch saw a little glint and pulled it out. And it turns out it was one of the largest diamonds in the world. So the point is, we're each sitting on acres of diamonds, but we scurry around the world searching greener pastures when we don't fully mine our diamonds within. So that's where that story came from. Not mine, but I riff off it.
I will add in your link to your homepage so they can view this story in the full. It's a really good one to look at. I'm Hanna Zaxmy, your leadership coach, and this podcast is your confidence boost in color. Let's go. Last time when we spoke, we started actually from the focus on clarity and alignment. That was the way we started that conversation. I think that is actually something we can start with today as well. Clarity in my world, it's a part of vision, as I have been explaining on the podcast as well. And it's a couple of more things as well. But from your perspective, what is ingredients in clarity?
Well, I think that we zoom out to 100,000 feet and think about who we want to be, who we want to become, what we want to do, have, be, and become, and get clear, because life affords choices and there's a natural hierarchy. So if I said to you, Hannah, I love ice cream, in context, you would understand what I meant. There's nothing wrong with using that word, but obviously, if I like health, I might not want to have as much ice cream as I prefer to have. So there's an order of loves, and this is not new, but what is today for each human being that I know is we get out of order and we're putting major effort into minor things. And when we have clarity, it's easy to say, I will pass on the pleasure in this hour for this purpose. And so clarity is understanding that to be, do, become, you have to make choices and to energize higher choices by your own definition. So I'm not being religious here. We all have a version of this, but many times because what's coming at us is something we react to, we don't take the time, we don't step back to say, am I just doing these tasks? Where is it leading me? And the word lead means to go before. So we go before in vision with clarity and your help, and then we express that in the daily life. And it's requiring those kind of disciplined choices, but with enthusiasm, because we've really chosen it, not to just react, but to respond beyond where we are.
And that is really good way of explaining, because, and I think it's also, since we are living in that complex world, things are so constantly shifting, and environment change, and regulations and such change. And that's why also I think it's that you need different priorities depending on where you are right then, what is most important at that point.
And clarity in this context is clarity of the big picture expressed on the messy runway, and it's going to continue to be messy. And so the 100,000 foot gets squashed out. We say, well, when I get the degree, when I get a new job, when I get the spouse, when I get the children, when I retire, we can always put off that clarity and we can live an okay life, but we'll say, no, I want a greater impact. And that requires stepping back and gaining clarity of what matters most and why.
How do you work with that to gaining clarity? If you have a client that comes to you and says, I want clarity, I want to understand this, what aspects do you look at that point?
Well, so if it's one-to-one, we want to cover the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, and see what's going on and tell the truth about what is. And then we want to step back and connect to what could be. And in momentum, the biggest or the core idea is connecting to the energy of the higher intention and expressing it in the smallest of the steps. And that's often what's missing is the small steps are something you think you have to do to get to the big energy. But what if you invested a little more energy and passion, even though this thing in the next hour isn't going to directly bring me, but I'm coming from the higher intention and it brings greater energy. And energy is always our compass. Is we if we have one foot on the brakes, one foot on the gas, one foot that says I can, but I don't want to, I have to, but I can't. That drains the energy. So we want to connect to the energy and invest it in whatever we're doing. And no one does it perfectly, but you can notice the difference if you do it to a higher degree. Check in with the highest intention before you do this, whatever this is, which I did before I came to talk to you, which is my energy's like this. Because I said, what an opportunity to have conversation with you and your audience. And if we can bring energy and clarity to even one person, what a great investment in our soul.
Exactly. I, for myself, actually took a walk in the forest. We are really close to the forest here. So I felt like if we could just help someone today to get better clarity and try out something of what we talk about today, I think we have made what we should today, actually.
And we leave that up to be sorted out. We put our best heart into the conversation and we trust whoever needs to hear it will get what they need. And they might only get a sentence. I've had times where I'm mindlessly listening to an audiobook or something, taking a walk in nature like you're talking about. And all of a sudden, what did she say? And then I play it back. What did she say? There it is. I got what I needed out of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
She had no idea I existed, and that's okay. She put it out there, and I got the benefit.
yeah, exactly. And I think that the better we are to articulate what clarity is for us individually, the easier those moments of opportunities will be found as well during the way, because then you know what you're looking for as well.
Well said.
And clarity, if I hear you correct now, and you can change what I say that, but hear that you also talk about values in this. Is that true, or is that part of
Yeah,
clarity or not?
it is. It is. We can be clear on some things that don't matter. So value just says what's most important, and we have to constantly reevaluate. It's not, you might have done value clarification exercises at a workshop, and I'm all in favor of them, but it's moving all the time. Not that the values are moving, but our lenses is moving so we can't see it. We might have the same top three God, family, business, but the stuff gets messy in a hurry. That's why I always call it the messy runway.
Mm.
But to answer your question more concisely, is what's important now? Why? And then resourceful questions. How can I connect, reconnect, reshape, reframe whatever I'm dealing with so it's a better connection to the value? I mean, I've spent a lot of time and I come to the conclusion this is a colossal waste of time. Well, then I have to step back and say, well, what is this? Why is it a waste of time? And what are you going to do differently? So,
Mm.
resourceful questions are the core to getting that ship back sailing in the direction of your highest aim.
I think that it's how you show up in that self, because everything can change, and the closer you go to the ground, the more details are there. So it's more, how do you want to fly that vessel?
Yeah. And
And
why do you want to? Always
exactly.
come back to why,
Yeah.
because we can be chasing things that other people say we should do.
Mm,
And there's a scripture that says, what profit a woman if she gain the whole world and lose her soul? So we want our soul to be in what we're doing. And then the rewards are not just accomplishing it, getting the degree, getting the job, getting the promotion. Those are well and good. But if your soul isn't coming with you, they become empty
mm.
accomplishments.
No, but it's so true. And it's easy to, so to say, lose yourself in a process, and just, I want to go there or such. But if you're losing oneself in that way, then it's definitely not worth it in the end. So
So we have to check in frequently.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it isn't the accomplishment that's wrong. It's, I like the way you put it. You aren't showing up there. You're
mm,
doing it to get somewhere.
yeah.
And if you're not on the journey, then getting somewhere is not as rewarding as you're in this journey and then you can be proud in the good sense of the word. Like the story you tell about passing that exam. I love that story.
Yeah.
It's just, um, all the frustration, all the aggravation, but you learned about yourself and you learned about the way you learn and you learned a way to tell others to stay encouraged. And, if you just rocked it on the first time through, you wouldn't have gotten that learning, which didn't mean it's pleasant. It just meant it was valuable and pleasant.
I try to tell myself that more and more each time when something doesn't go as I planned, or think that it's just like, okay, what should I learn from this? So
Yes.
it's that, having that mantra instead. And by that, failure is not a thing. It's just something to learn from in that sense. So, and
And I always say failure is a thing, but it's not a person.
yeah.
So it's okay to say I failed, but if
Mm,
you start saying I'm a failure, then you're lost. But if you say this didn't work,
mm,
this failed, I did a test
mm,
and it didn't pass. We don't have to, because then it starts to be pretend.
Mm.
It's just, and so we come back and say, what you say is, what can I learn from this and what's next? And don't take it personally.
And I hope that someone will take that from today as well, because it's so much easier to live in this world with that focus instead, and more curiosity on what to learn instead of.
And that's the most important word for clarity, since that's our subject,
Yeah,
is be curious and play around with the lens. I don't know if you know, like a binocular where it's out of focus and you kind of play around and then it gets better and then it gets worse. And then it's it's a process of gaining clarity. And if you stay curious and you believe that you'll get clarity, you can sit in the mud longer.
yeah. Yesterday evening here in Sweden, it's summer right now, and I love to, so to say, dream and think big during the summer time, and laying in my hammock and dreaming a bit and what might be there for tomorrow or going forward. And I read in my book that I have, where I note down my dreams and things that I want to bring out going forward somewhere, and looked back actually 18 months from now. And at that point, I had for the first time written confidence and leadership together. I didn't know
Wow.
that point that this should turn out as a podcast. When I read it, I felt like, wow, it made me get that goosebump moments that, yeah, sometimes you learn something, you get something, but it will not see how it will be used until later on, and just continue walking and testing things out. And here,
And trusting
yeah, yeah,
that not all your dreams are going to translate so nicely as that one has. But if you didn't have them, then the dam would be stuck.
yeah.
You gotta look at that and flow and trust
Mm.
and smile at the ones that didn't happen to say, well, they were part of the dreaming process.
Exactly. Yeah. Something that I learned, that that was not the correct road, that was something else, so to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And
So
to be grateful that it came into your journal or wherever you capture them, and know that you are connecting dots in new ways. And some of the dots don't connect now, but they might connect in a different way later. A lot of trust in that process. You inspire me.
yeah, and that's the that made me even more curious about what will it look like in 18 months time, so to say,
Mhm.
in the future. What has happened then? So I have written down things that I might see at that point. Let's see if it will.
Let's see. Yeah. Let's keep
Yeah.
showing up. Let's keep trusting.
Yeah.
Let's stay curious.
I will not
And
talk about it here right now, at least.
no, I get it. But we might be hearing a podcast where one of those insights that started unclear and
Yeah,
became clear, and we'll have to keep showing up to hear what that is.
yeah, exactly.
Our future selves will celebrate that with you, Anna.
How do you work with that with yourself? Do you have those kind of moments when you
Oh,
only,
yes.
so to say?
Yeah. So I use a couple of tools. One is the bullet journal.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of the bullet journal. And because I'm all over the map, I
Yeah.
now call it ADD, and I'm all over the map. And then I use mind mapping. And what I like about electronic mind mapping, and I use the two in combination, is you have those little signs so you can hide it. You don't lose it.
Mm.
But I would be dizzy if I have a thing called the possibility pipeline. And
Yeah.
I want that thing full to overflowing. But I have to remember that's not a task list.
Mm.
That's not a to-do list. It's a possibility list. And when I
Mm.
need inspiration, I open that puppy up and I look at it and then I'll pick one to move forward and then go through more of a critical thinking exercise.
Mm.
But if I did that with 100 possibilities, somebody'd say, where's Tom? I don't know. He's lost in his possibility pipeline. And so we make this mistake with, I learned this from De Bono, is putting on different types of thinking hat. So we love to brainstorm, which is where we just generate ideas. But
Yeah.
sometimes my engineering friends say, I don't want to do brainstorming. I'm tired of it. But if
Mm.
you set a time limit and you
Mm.
say 10 minutes, we're just going to generate ideas, no black hat at all. Then they're into it and they even contribute to it. But you make a promise you'll take at least one of those and move it forward.
Mm.
And so to do that, you need the black hat. So the green hat is just generating possibilities. The black hat is looking at those possibilities critically and
Mm.
asking questions. It doesn't belong in brainstorming. Like, what would it take to move this forward? Is there a small next step? Is there a way to keep this alive? So those questions all have very much critical thinking into them.
Mm.
But if you do critical thinking before you brainstorm, you say, oh, I can't do any of this
Mm.
because you can't complete any of it. So it's about understanding what type of thinking serves you here.
Mm.
And
Mm.
DeBono's book, if any of your listeners are interested, are the six thinking hats.
Mm.
And what he says is all of them are valuable, but if you do them all at one time, you get confusion, which is not clarity.
But it's really important to separate them.
Yes, to give them space.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't edit when you have a blank page. You
Mm.
have to just let the words flow. Then you come back and
Mm.
edit. But you don't want to hand that writing to someone else unedited, but you got to get it somewhere to start. And if you start saying, is this the right word? It's going to constrict your creativity.
I definitely agree. And working with organizations with this, I often take them to different rooms in the house. Like now we are in a dreamer state.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything is
Different rooms
possible.
and different colors is a way to say different hats.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
love the way language, I like lots of different analogies.
yeah,
My marketing person says, don't mix metaphors, and she's not wrong, but I mix them all the time. One
yeah.
minute it's sailing, the next minute, that's something I'm working on, being more consistent with that because it can confuse your audience. Which are we in a room? Are we wearing a hat? Are we painting with a color palette? Well, all of the above, but let's agree on the language for this session and
Yeah,
try to
but
stick.
I like the hats, so maybe I would bring a lot of hats next time with the different colors. That's a good one.
There you go. Different
Yeah,
colored hats. It fits your model.
yeah. It will be also fun to watch in the room, so everyone will be happy having those different hats on, I believe. Hello from the editing room, and wow, what a conversation. I'm sitting here re-listening the chat with Tom, and I just have to say that this one is packed with insights. We covered so much already, from inner diamonds to clarity on that messy runway. And I honestly can't wait for you to hear it all in the next episode. Speaking with Tom was such a joy and truly insightful, and I especially loved how we circled back to clarity, not as something fixed or perfect, but as a living process. One that we can access by staying curious and making aligned choices, even in the middle of the mess. And as we touched upon at the end of today's conversation about hats, sometimes clarity begins actually by simply noticing what hats we're wearing. So I want to leave you with a few gentle questions here at the end for you to reflect on where you are. What hat are you wearing right now? Is it like the dreamer, the planner, the doubter, the doer, or what is it? Name it and be curious. It's not for judgment, it's more, what is it right now? And what hat would help you to gain clarity where you are right now? If you could choose one that would help you to move forward in the direction you want, which hat would that be? Name that as well. And now imagine that you put that hat on What is the first thing that comes into mind when you now have this hat on? And what's one small thing you could do today or try out tomorrow just to get a little movement? If you would like to have more support with this, you will find 2 free resources in the show notes. The first one is the Clarity Workbook to help you to tune in and reconnect what matters most. And then there is the Confidence Charger, a journaling guide to build focus, clarity, and momentum day by day. And one more thing, don't miss the short film Tom mentioned about the acres of diamonds. It's a powerful reminder that what you're searching for might already be within you. And yes, the conversation with Tom will continue in next week's episode. So hit follow on this podcast. You won't want to miss what's coming. Until next time, keep being curious, keep showing up, be confident, and keep leading in your colors.
Inside of you.